Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and everything in your life starts falling apart. Not slowly,
But all at once. Your bank account is suddenly empty. Your phone fills with messages you don't understand. Your job is gone. The people you love most are suddenly taken away from you. No warning, no explanation, just silence. And in that moment, when everything you depended on disappears, ask yourself honestly, would you still believe in God? There was a man in the Bible named Job. He wasn't just an ordinary man. He was known for being righteous, faithful, and devoted. He lived a life that many people today would dream of. He had a loving family, wealth, stability, and peace. Everything seemed right. Everything seemed blessed. If you saw his life from the outside, you would probably say, that's what faith looks like. But what most people don't realize is that his story didn't stay that way. One day, without warning, everything changed. Not because he failed, not because he sinned, but because he was being tested. And what makes this even more unsettling is that God allowed it to happen. Imagine that in today's world. You're living your normal life. Maybe you're working, studying, building your future, dreaming about what comes next. Then suddenly, everything starts collapsing. You open your banking app, and it shows zero. You think it's a glitch, but it's not. You get a message from your workplace. You've been let go. No explanation, no second chance. Just gone. Your stability disappears in seconds. Before you can even process it, something worse happens. A call comes in, and that call changes everything. The kind of call that makes your chest feel heavy, the kind that makes time slow down. The people you love most are gone. Just like that. No time to prepare, no chance to say goodbye. One moment they were there, and now there's only silence. And it doesn't stop there. As if loss wasn't enough, your own body begins to fail you. Pain you've never felt before starts to take over. You can't sleep. You can't rest. Even your own mind starts turning against you. You feel alone, completely alone. And now here's the real question. In that moment, what happens to your faith? Most of us believe we are strong. We say we trust God. We say our faith is unshakable. But the truth is, our faith is often built on comfort. It's easy to believe when life is going well, when your prayers are answered quickly, when things are working out, when you feel in control. But faith in comfort is very different from faith in suffering.
Job reached that point. He lost everything. His wealth, his children, his health. Everything that once defined his life was taken away. And what's even more painful is that there was no explanation, no clear reason, just silence. He sat there in pain, trying to understand what was happening. The people around him didn't help. They questioned him. They judged him. They told him maybe he did something wrong. Maybe he deserved it. Imagine hearing that when you're already at your lowest point. And this is where the story becomes personal.
Because if we're being honest, many of us wouldn't last. Some of us struggle when small things go wrong, when a plan fails, when a prayer isn't answered right away, when life becomes inconvenient. So what would happen if everything fell apart at once? Would you still pray? Or would you stop? Would you still believe? Or would you walk away? It's easy to say, I would stay faithful. But it's different when you're actually in that moment, when you're sitting in silence, waiting, hoping, but nothing changes. There's something deeply uncomfortable about the story of Job. It forces us to confront a reality we don't like to think about, that sometimes faith doesn't protect us from pain. Sometimes being good doesn't mean life will be easy. Sometimes things happen, and we don't get answers. And that silence is what breaks most people. Because we want explanations. We want reasons. We want to understand why things happen. But what if there is no immediate answer? What if the only thing you're left with is your faith? That's the real test. Not when everything is going well, not when life makes sense, but when nothing makes sense at all. Job questioned. He felt pain. He struggled. But he didn't completely let go. And that's what makes his story so powerful. Not because he was perfect, but because he held on, even when everything around him told him to give up. Now bring that back to your life. Think about everything you have right now. Your family, your friends, your plans, your dreams, the small things you don't even notice anymore. What if all of that disappeared? Would your faith still exist without those things? Or is your faith connected to what God gives you rather than who God is? That's a hard question, but it's an honest one, because a lot of people don't lose faith all at once. It happens slowly, one disappointment at a time, one unanswered prayer at a time, until eventually they stop believing. But what if faith was never meant to depend on circumstances? What if faith is proven in the worst moments? In the silence, in the confusion, in the pain. That's where it becomes real. So if God tested you like Job today, what would happen? Would you hold on? Or would you let go? Would you keep believing even without answers? Or would the silence be too much? Maybe the story of Job isn't just about suffering. Maybe it's a mirror, a reflection of what we believe and how strong that belief really is. Because at the end of the day, it's easy to say you have faith. But the real question is, would your faith survive if everything else didn't?
So tonight, before you sleep, think about that. Not as a story, not as something that happened long ago, but as something that could challenge you right now. If everything was taken away, would God still be enough for you? Thank you for watching. And if this made you think, consider subscribing for more 3 a.m. thoughts like this.